Spooky Tuesday.
I want the whole world to know my name. Like Linda Carter or some shit.
Hey, everyone with a pulse is gonna lust after a piece of Maxine Minx once they see what you can do. You know why?
Why?
Because you got that X Factor.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
And this week we are doing another new film. This is one from director Ty West. We just were talking about him a few weeks ago when we covered 2012's VHS, but now we're doing something that's all Ty West all the time. It's 2022's X. And it's a really fun one. So I'm really excited for this episode, but let me break down the summary for you right away in case you haven't seen it, because I mean, it did just come out a month ago.
It is very new. It is very fresh.
But again, I don't want you to listen to this before watching this movie, especially this one, because I liked it so much. But anyway, here's a little teaser. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas. But when they're reclusive, I'm having a hard time, elderly hosts catch them in the act. The cast find themselves fighting for their lives. That's true.
It's true, but it also, I would not say, gives like quite the right impression of the film.
Doesn't give the vibe. But how can you put the vibe into words? I mean, better than that.
That's true, but I would make the summary a little more mysterious, because that's kind of what the vibe was from the trailer. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know who the bad people were going in.
Well, yeah, when I watched the trailer for this, because I've been excited for this one for a long time. When the trailer came out, I was like, this is going to slap. And then it slapped in a completely different way than I thought it would. But I thought it was going to be like a Sundowners thing. Because the way that they made it seem like there was something spooky about the grandma who lived in the farmhouse. Pearl is her name. But they did not make it clear like what was going on. And you know from the get-go, that's the one thing that sucks, is like, it doesn't suck when you know from the trailer that RJ is gonna die and exactly where he's gonna die. But like, they had to expose one death, I guess, and of all of them, they give you just enough to know he's gonna die, but they don't let you know what's really gonna happen in the aftermath there. So there's that. But I mean, okay, you were gonna say something, Sydney.
I was going to say the whole vibe of this movie is dark, and not in like a, ooh, dark, mysterious, as in like just the camera work is so dark in this movie. And I had complaints in theater. So my cousin Kayla and I went and saw this in theater. And let me tell you, do you know how hard it was to find a movie theater in Alabama that was playing this movie?
Really?
There was only
the South at work.
One that I could find that was in like a reasonable driving distance, and it was still 45 minutes away.
No. It turns out the religious themes of this movie are unfortunately very timely and relevant.
Yeah. But my cousin and I went, there was 8 people in the movie. And so we sat in the way back and were just loud and obnoxious the entire time. But like, people were complaining. I think they were enjoying us.
People were very rowdy in our screening as well. I think it's really the vibe rowdy. Of the film.
Oh yeah, you have to be. I mean, this movie is like the funny type of horror. You know, it's not a comedy.
So
it's
funny.
Actually like a really. Yeah, it's like a smart commentary on a lot of different things, which we'll get into, but it's so fucking funny. Like, it's laugh out loud funny throughout. And also it's like gruesome as fuck. So like, if I wasn't laughing my head off, I was screaming my head off. and squeezing the life out of Chelsea's hand. Because I was sitting next to Chelsea and I was sitting next to Adam, and Adam is the type of person who has his fingers in his ears the entire time he watches a horror movie, so he can't hold my hand. And so you know what? That's why
it's
I
a
don't
tough
like going
job,
to
but
watch.
somebody's got to do it.
I don't like watching horror movies in theaters with Adam because I'm just like, someone needs to be on the receiving end of my vice grip. And if it's not going to be you, then why are you here?
Yeah. Just a wasted seat filler, really.
I know. Ideally, I have someone on either side so I can just really cocoon myself. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, this was so fun to see in theaters. It
really was.
Yeah, it was good to watch it at home for sure, but like just on the big screen, it hits different. I'm so glad we can go back to the movie theaters again.
It was very delightful for sure. Like I was definitely like delighted is the word. I was thrilled at some points when we watched it in the theaters. You know, I laughed a lot. I covered my eyes a lot. My reactions were a lot more measured at home the second time around, especially because I feel like I was really trying to like watch for notes purposes. I didn't do a Just Vibes screening because the theater run was my Just Vibes screening. But it's really fun for sure. And they do some cool stuff. We never really plan our clear references, our through lines, but we've got a couple here with like the split screens to Carrie, and like there's a couple POV shots like with Halloween.
And also at the beginning of this movie, like spoils the end of the movie, not spoils it, but like shows the aftermath.
Just like May.
Just like May, except I liked the way that they did it in this movie.
Yeah.
Because, and I wrote this in my notes even, like this one is different than the way they did it in May is because like you don't know who anyone is. You just see bodies. Haha, another A24 horror movie coming out. Which we're also really excited about. But anyway, you just see the bodies with the sheets over them. You have no idea who's who. You have no idea what's what. And so it's not spoiling everything. Like with May, you see like blood pouring out of her eyeball. You know what I mean? Like that's like you know that her eyeball's gone, you know? Like, and that's like the big punchline at the end of that movie. I mean, there's two big punchlines, but yeah, whatever. But this one it's more ominous, and it kind of like sets the tone that you know that shit is going to hit the fan. And I know that's the point of the May one too, but I just thought it was more jarring and more revealing, and I didn't like it as much. But this one, it's like you kind of need that because there's such a long period of downtime in this movie. It's really like a cute like 70s road trip about porn, you know, for the first bit, which I love that part of the film too.
I do think it's interesting with the intro that you're right. They like throw sheets over everybody, but also what they kind of position as like the big moment of the is when the two police officers are down in the cellar and they're like, you've got to see this. And then once you have watched the film and you're like seeing that part again, you realize it's just the guy who's been dead in the basement and is like not really plot relevant, is the big like oh my god moment in the beginning, which is an oh my god moment because there's a lot of implications there, but again it's not even any of our main characters even a little bit, and so it's interesting to like have that as sort of a reveal and then it doesn't actually give anything away.
I feel like maybe the reason the cops were so oh my god about it is because like seeing that they realize who the perpetrators probably are of the crimes, because when they're looking all around the house, they're like, what the hell happened here? And they're like, I have no idea. Like, I think they say something like that. And then they go down there and they see like a week's old corpse with his pants around his ankles, tied up in like this torture chamber. And they're like, okay, well, these kids who just came into town did not do that.
Probably didn't. Yeah.
Probably didn't do that. If all the rest of these bodies are fresh, like who's the person who lives here? Or the
that's
people
really
who live here.
interesting, actually. Because also, and I did not notice this myself, but per IMDb trivia, I think I noticed when we were in theaters that when Jackson drinks milk, there's like a missing person photo on the milk carton. I didn't notice it the second time around, But apparently, per IMDb trivia, the missing person on the milk carton is the guy in the basement.
Oh, sick. I love that.
Yeah, and there's like one moment when they're at the gas station early on, and Wayne is being like, see, everybody's trying to make a buck, and it like shows the flyers for a second, and they're all like, for sale, for rent. But there is one that's like missing, at least one. I like paused to check what the deal was with the board. And I couldn't see anything that like identified that guy. But if the police, who presumably are familiar with the people that are missing in the area, recognize him also, that ties it, not just the homeowners have killed this one guy, but oh gosh, perhaps the homeowners are responsible for this whole slew of missing people in the area.
Yeah, totally. That's a really good point too. I wanted to pause that, but I did not plan my life very well this weekend. And so there was a period of time where I was like, I'm not going to be able to watch the movie. But instead, I watched it at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And it was a lovely way to start the day. I've watched a lot of our horror movies very early in the morning, at times 6 a.m. before work. And a lot of times it's not good. No, it's a very bad way to start the day. It is not the right thing. But X, you can start your day with it. It's fun enough. There's enough levity in it that you can start your day with it, which is what I'm looking for in a horror film, you know, an early morning cup of joe horror film. But okay, let's talk about our cast of characters here. I love that, like, we go from the cops reviewing the crime scene immediately to Maxine Minx, aka Mia Goth, like doing blow. I thought that whole transition was really, really fun. And I am just so obsessed with Mia Goth after this movie. Like the no eyebrows queen of my heart, honestly.
Nobody pulls off no eyebrows like she does.
Seriously.
It's a hard look to carry.
Queen, honestly.
Her freckles are incredible, but Brittany Snow steals this movie. Like, I know Mia Goth is supposed to be the star, but like, sorry, girl, it is Queen Brittany Snow in this movie for me. Like, every scene that she is in is my favorite scene. Like, she's just so good in this movie.
I totally agree with you. And also, I was reading this article on LA Times about the movie. And it was it was so fun, so insightful, because most of these articles were like focusing on Ty West, as they should. He did an incredible job bringing this whole
writer, director, etc. Yeah.
I'll say this really quickly. There was this one interview that I read. It's linked in the references, and he was talking about how he's an only child, and so that's kind of like how he does his filmmaking, where he was like just like does it all himself, because like that's how he
has
grew
nobody
up
to play with.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm an only child, and I was like, I relate to that so much. Not that I could do what he does, but like I was like, yeah,
you totally do what he does. Don't sell yourself short, queen.
I don't think that I'm like gonna be a writer, cinematographer, director. Like I just don't see that in the cards for me, and it's because it's my choice. I don't want to, you know.
Look, I just
no other reason.
You can do it, and you could do it on your first try, but let's never find out for sure. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Let's
yeah.
Just
Fair.
have the belief forever.
Maybe I'll direct us in a recreation. We'll do a feature film of our own.
Okay.
We'll do a of scripted TikToks just as a launching point. Anyway, back to Brittany Snow. One, I didn't like recognize what her name was the whole time. Bobby Lynn is her name. Absolutely incredible. And she literally like based like her mannerisms and like her look off of Dolly Parton. Like that's like what she was going for, which is so perfect, so spot on. She killed it. She really did.
Yeah, I think it was in that article where she's really talking about how she wanted to bring like a humanity to the character, because it would be very easy for someone playing a porn star to play it in a minimizing, like very flat, one-dimensional way. And I think she really brought a lot of heart, generally speaking. And then also she sang, which is very Pitch Perfect of her. A
Oh
little
my
fun for
God.
the girlies, for the Pitch Perfect girlies out
There's
there.
like the song part was poignant and it was lovely, and they did the whole split screen Carrie thing during that part, but it did feel a little bit like Dominic Fike's song in Euphoria, where it went on for like a little bit too long. I was like, we're doing the whole song. Okay. I mean, the verses are poignant, but we're gonna do the whole song.
Do you remember when literally every project that Mandy Moore was in for a while, she would sing a song? Literally everyone. A Walk to Remember. That song is 12 minutes long, I swear to God.
That
She
song
sings in
wrecks me.
Saved. Yeah, she sings in A Princess Diaries. I'm pretty sure she sings in This Is Us, but I stopped watching after maybe 6 episodes in season 1. But I'm pretty sure
And
she
sang
sang
in every single one of those 6 episodes. Can you imagine?
No, but she just like, she must have had something written into her contracts for a while there that was like, Mandy Moore must sing. And I just want to know if Brittany Snow asked for this song or if she was given this song.
Or if the song was thrust upon her.
Yeah. Because it's not that it was bad, but it was, you're right, it was a little bit like, oh, okay, we're doing this. A little bit of a reminder that you are watching an actor in a role in that moment. And the actor's like, hey guys, I sing too. It's very Disney Channel star to be like, I sing too. There's randomly a song in here.
Yes. And they brought that up in that article too, because they also made the juxtaposition with Jenna Ortega being a former Disney star. But yeah, I don't really know. I liked it. I think it is so funny, and it adds to the fact that this is a funny, scary movie. Like she sounded amazing. She sounded great. She's got a great voice. But I was like, we are doing a little kumbaya moment. We're sitting on the couches, drinking our beers. We're singing Fleetwood Mac. Like, let's do it. That's fine.
And there was like some interesting juxtaposition of like what lyric with what they were showing on screen. Like the I built my life around you lyric was shown with like RJ and Lorraine in a side by side when we know like shit's about to hit the fan with them, and also a little bit like their construction of the way that they work around each other. And then there's the children get older line cut to like Pearl, and on the other half of the split screen, like the very creepy blue eyeshadow baby dolls.
I didn't notice that the first time around. Like, she saw Mia Goth, she saw Maxine in her cute little blue eyeshadow, and she was like, same, but also all my babies are gonna be the same too.
Do you think she blue eyeshadowed them after she saw Maxine, or do you think she latched onto Maxine because of the blue eyeshadow in part? Because her babies were already blue eyeshadowed.
She's like, all my babies are blue eyeshadow babies. A real blue eyeshadow baby.
A real baby.
Looks like me when I was young. Baby.
Another baby episode.
This
another
is a
episode for
classic chicken or the egg scenario. What came first, the blue eyeshadow baby or Maxine's blue eyeshadow? Only time will tell, you know. Maybe we'll find out in Pearl.
There is, yeah, I mean, there is some like sort of implied wibbly wobbly time stuff if you want to read that into this movie. Okay, actually let's just talk about that now if you guys don't mind. But like Mia Goth plays both Maxine and Pearl, which is very interesting because of the relationship that the characters have. Do we think there's anything more to that, or do we think it's just like kind of fun?
I fucking hope not. I would hate it if it was some sort of time warp shit, because I think it's such like a beautiful, like not allegory, I don't know, but reference to just like to the themes of aging that they're tackling in this movie. Because the real horror of this movie is like the slow trudging of time, you know, and aging and losing your youthful vigor. I saw in a bunch of articles saying that phrase, like the youth is wasted on the young, or whatever that phrase is. So I think it was just more of like an artistic choice to be like, she really sees herself as Maxine because they're literally played by the same person. So more of like an artistic choice in that regard, and also a fun excuse to put Mia Goth in age makeup.
When
I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
when I first saw this in theaters and we get to our first kill by Pearl, and
Iconic.
RJ, hate him.
Little bitch behavior.
Little bitch.
Yeah.
But as she's like brutally murdering RJ, and all you can kind of see is she's, again, this movie's like very dark shot wise, but you see like the car headlights, and it kind of looked like she was younger than she was. And so I kind of thought, I was like, is this she
Fountain of
murders
youth
people
kind of thing.
to like regain her like youth? And then it was like, oh no, she's still old again. Okay, like where is this going? But like she did kind of look a lot younger after that first kill, and she's like dancing in the headlights because she tells Maxine that like, oh, I used to be a dancer and yada yada yada. And I thought that that's where this movie was going, that like, oh, they murder people
Supernatural style. Yeah.
And it wasn't. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Would you have liked it more if it was that?
Maybe. I liked it a lot, but it would have just been like a different movie, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked that movie too, I think. I mean, I would see how it would have had to end. But I just loved, because all these articles that I read were like, the horror of this movie is that you can like almost relate to the older characters, to Howard and Pearl, because like they are humanized so well in this movie, because you understand their longing, like, oh, they wish that they could be how they once were. They're sad because like opportunities they had in their youth never played out. They're jealous of these younger people who have their whole lives ahead of them, you know? Like those are like human ideas. But what was I going to say? Oh, to your point, Sydney, about like how Pearl was acting younger after that. I think part of the reason that she seemed younger is because she felt more alive. Like she's like, Pearl is a very sexual being. They make that pretty clear. Just because like, you know, she keeps trying to come to Howard and ask him to be with her in that way, but he has a bad heart, and so he literally can't fuck. And she's like, I don't care, die for this pussy. Like literally, that's what she says to him. She doesn't literally say that, but that's the subtext.
She basically says, "Why won't you risk it all?"
Yeah,
I've
why
read
won't
Twilight.
you lay down your life
Bella,
for this? Yeah,
Bella's trying to die for the dick. I just don't understand why you don't have the same commitment to this relationship.
Exactly. And fair. But the thing with the RJ kill, it's an incredibly sexual kill, because at first she just stabs him. Well, first she comes on to him, you know. She like rubs his back. She's like trying to kiss him, and he's like, "What the fuck? I don't want to see that." She tries to get naked for him. He says like, "I don't want to see that." And then she's like, "Fuck you. Die."
Yeah.
Fair reaction. That was rude. He could have phrased that in a better way. But but then she like straddles him and is like kind of like using the knife as like kind of was like fucking him with it. Yeah. And then literally decapitates him, which I thought was cool. But something I read in one of the articles was that there were screenings, or one of the screenings that Ty West went to, I think some people walked out during that scene because they were so horrified by like the violence being sexualized in that way. And I was just like, I thought it was funny.
It's on theme. It's thematic.
Theme. I was like, I don't know what you thought you were getting into. And this is what Ty West said too. He was like, I don't know what you thought you were getting into when you saw this, like came to this movie.
Porn slasher.
It's a porn slasher. But that said, before we get too far into it, I do want to say that I think that, and it says this in a lot of the articles too, like it's very easy to have done this movie in an exploitative way. And Brittany Snow commented on that in the LA Times article we're talking about, where she like wanted to make sure and wanted to understand what Ty West was going for making the movie, because it's like you're having full frontal nudity, you're having like pretty graphic sex scenes, graphic, but yeah, in this movie, like multiple times, and like it would be really easy for this this to just be like exploiting the women who are porn actresses in the movie. But they give everybody so many layers and so much depth and everything, that they're like actual people. That's handled so well. And something that I thought was really awesome and admirable is when Ty West wrote this movie, he brought it to A24 first, because he was like, A24 can handle this and they'll do it right. And he wrote in the an article, he said, if A24 hasn't picked it up, I'm not sure if I would have made it, because he's not sure what other like film house would have been able to handle it and not ruin it. And I
Give
told
him his vision.
yeah. No, because this could have gone wrong. This could have gone really wrong. This is a sticky situation, you know. But they do such a good job of making this look like 1979, but the movie is so not created in 1979 because it's handled so well. So I thought that was
Well,
a
I
really
think
fun thing about it.
Yeah, I think they definitely did the film X a lot of favors by writing RJ's character as like an avant-garde cinema fan rather than like someone with experience in porn, because it meant that the movie X could be shot without being like really exploitative male gaze and those parts, and cutting into like the farmer's daughter footage could also be like beautiful, kind of art housey, and like reverent in a way instead of degrading. But actually, but actually, let's go back to the Pearl thing for a bit, because I had more that I wanted to say, but actually maybe we can talk about that later. Let's save that for later.
Well, I just, to comment more on the way they handled the porn, I think like all of the moments, like there are so many moments where they give agency to Bobby Lynn and Maxine, or give like this like power to them, like this like while they're doing whatever sex acts that they're doing. Like first one is when Bobby Lynn and all of them are at the gas station, and Bobby Lynn's like, why don't you film from above or whatever, so it looks like the gas nozzle is his cock. Is Kid Cudi's cock. We haven't even talked about Kid Cudi yet. Kid Cudi's in this.
Kid Cudi is so good in this.
He's
Kid
so
Cudi
good
is
in
hanging
this.
dong in this, and that's important.
Oh, he's so handsome. And also just that shot when they shoot, when he's filling up the car with gas, and they like take the shot of like, you know, his gas nozzle dick, and they pan up to his face and he's just like leaning back with his mouth open. I was like, I'm gonna pass out.
He's a beautiful man.
He's a beautiful man. But like that gives this Bobby Lynn agency, because she's like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Like I know,
she's like, I've got ideas too. Yeah, she like explicitly says it.
Exactly. And then in the sex scene with Jackson and Bobby Lynn, you know, there's not a lot of nudity in that scene, I noticed, in comparison to the one with Maxine later. It's mostly like face shots of Brittany Snow and of Kid Cudi. But in the aftermath of that, they're showing the realities of it. She's literally like wiping ejaculate off of her back.
Oh, I hated that.
Yeah. Yep, sorry. But then she's like, oh, you're so like, oh, Jackson, you're feeling so proud of yourself. Like, you did a good job, sweetie. And he's like, yeah, I was born to fuck, essentially. And she was like, honey, that's called acting. And he's like, you're not that good of an actress. And then she just like performs an orgasm right then and there. And it's just incredible. I feel like that does a lot for it too, for like showing her agency, because she's just like, yeah, I am an incredible actress, and puts him right back in his place and puts the power right back on her.
I don't remember the full quote, but I know like when they're at the gas station and Jenna Ortega's character is like, oh, is that your boyfriend? And she's like, sometimes, yeah. And then they say something else, and she also says like,
yes,
but
the line is that Bobby Lynn says like, oh, do you always help out with your boyfriend's films? And Jenna goes, sometimes, yeah. And then Jenna goes, is that your boyfriend? And she goes, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Iconic. Love it.
I'm gonna use that from now on. Like, no matter serious committed relationship, like I could be married. Somebody, is that your husband? Sometimes, yeah. Like that's just gonna be the move from now on.
She's just so smart the whole time too. When she's like talking about what she's gonna do with her money, and she's like, I want to have a pool so I can tan these titties. And Jenna Ortega makes some face, I don't know, and she's like, honey, like I know how blessed I am to look like this. People pay thousands of dollars for this, so I need to take care of it. And I'm just like, she's just very practical. Mm-hmm. Also, just a cinematography thing. When they show the big mural on the back of the Bayou strip club or whatever, I don't remember what it's called. And it's a painting of her, like pretty much like with an alligator. Which is, oh shit, I didn't even think about that.
But here's the thing.
Oh my God, it's foreshadowing. Holy shit. Oh my God.
So many foreshadowing moments like in this movie. You have that.
My mind's blown.
you have that.
As it was coming out of your mouth. Yeah.
Wayne talks about how like people's eyes are gonna pop out of their heads when they see this movie, and then he gets rammed in the eye with a pitchfork. Like,
and
Jackson
eyes actually come out.
Jackson talks about how like when he was in Vietnam, like farmers were shooting at him all the time. Howard, Pearl's husband, constantly mentions that he has a bad heart, and there's like some there's the thing when they first get to the farm and Howard is pointing his gun at Wayne, and then Wayne is like, oh, don't worry, I keep a gun in the car too, and it's like not really loaded at all, like that's fine.
Yeah,
like there's so many foreshadowing details in this movie. It's that like
very well written script.
There's that part when RJ is like, yeah, like I hope an old lady doesn't fuck my head off with a knife. Remember when he says that?
Oh yeah.
I'm kidding.
You're right. That was crazy.
Can we talk about
foreshadowing?
The best foreshadowing? And I didn't like the scene because it was like, was the dead cow scene, you know? Oh, but like they make
and the cops there.
But like they make a point to like show the van tires like going through the cow ick, which is just how Maxine runs over Pearl.
Yeah, foreshadowing.
Wayne also says to one of the cows at one point, wander into traffic. So that's not really foreshadowing because it comes after the cow wandered into traffic. But it's just showing the thought that goes into this film. But just before we move on.
It's just about the cow. The fact that its tongue was sticking out was really funny to me. I was like, why he's already had an undignified death. Now they're gonna make him look dumb too. It was like, poor cow.
Poor cow.
And really, before you go on to your next thing, the reason that I brought up this whole foreshadowing thing, which I didn't mean to bring up because I didn't realize it because I'm dumb and Sydney's smart. All that I was gonna say, this is how dumb the thing I was gonna say is. It's like it's a big painting of Brittany Snow, and then she like throws the door open and like pops out of her own pussy, pretty much right then and there, and like walks out. That's what I was gonna say. I thought that was an amazing entrance, and I thought it was hilarious, and it was foreshadowing, and I had no idea. Chelsea.
To reframe it, I liked that she smashed the alligator at least once in the course of the film when she threw the door open. But what I was going back to was how they shot the sex scenes, because I also thought that it was really interesting what you were saying about how like they really didn't show much nudity in the Bobby Lynn and Jackson scene. Obviously, they showed a lot more nudity in Mia Goth scene, but Jenna Ortega scene was the one that I thought was really interesting because like obviously Jenna Ortega is only 19 now. She was only 18 when they were filming. Her character is super young too. And her character's whole thing is like kind of being shy, kind of not sure about all this, fully embracing it. Yeah, church mouse to I want to be in the movie. But I really liked that for her scene, they only really showed you like the setup and then they cut away. They're like, that's all that we need. We just need the implication of what was happening. Cut to RJ crying in the shower, basically. Which also loved. But I really liked and appreciated that from a film goer's perspective, because I love Jenna Ortega. She's absolutely still baby.
No, yeah, I totally agree because she just also feels and looks really, really young. So that would have
She's
been
wearing her
a lot.
Sunday day of the week undies.
Oh, so
Come
cute.
on.
That was my favorite part. I was like, so sweet.
They didn't even give her sexy undies. She just said the Sunday undies will do.
Sunday
Come on
undies.
up there.
I love
Mhm.
that. I love that. But okay, I mean the really explicit sex scene, besides, Howard and Pearl, Maxine's cow scene was horrible. I'm so sorry. Barn is the word I was trying to
Mhm.
get to. Barn. Like that one was super explicit and it was really long, and it's her like just like writhing in ecstasy. But the reason that one feels like so good to me, not in the other way, was that like everyone was looking at her with this sort of like awe.
Aw.
They were like,
Mhm.
she is like, because the whole time they're like, Wayne's like, once everyone sees what you can do, you're gonna be a star. You're gonna like, people's eyes are
She's
gonna
got
pop
that
out. All
X
this stuff.
factor, baby.
That X
Once
factor,
people see that she
baby.
can fuck like a champ,
No,
they
but
will
seriously,
know. But she can't.
everyone is just like so enamored and overwhelmed by her performance.
Entranced.
Entranced is the perfect word. I mean, you see in Jenna Ortega's eyes, like her be like, I will be wanting to do porn now. And it's not about Jackson, I don't think, though. I know he's
Yes.
got a mile long schlong. Like it's about Maxine and that power that she has, because like it's, I don't know, she's on top. Great for her. And also
she's not just on top. She's the one doing the work. You know what I
yeah,
mean? She's not just on
doing
top
it.
being fucked. She's the one
She's
fucking.
the one fucking. Yeah,
She's the
totally.
fucker.
She's the fucker. And I mean, it's so inspiring that it inspires Jenna Ortega to want to do porn. Everyone else is just having a great time. I mean, the look on Brittany Snow's face is also incredible, but it also inspires Pearl to murder. Like, wow, what a performance. It's beautiful.
It is. It is beautiful. But
I want to wear overalls with no shirt now. Really bad. I don't think it would work out that well for me, but I'm going to try it out.
I think the galoshes, no shirt, overalls, hair down, blue eyeshadow, I feel like that could be a very popular Halloween costume. But I will say now, if anybody wants to do that for Halloween or any other costume event, either bleach or shave your eyebrows or don't bother. You have to commit to the bit.
That's true. Or, do the glue thing, glue them, put
That's
concealer
not enough
over
commitment
top.
for me personally. But if somebody did a really good job, maybe I would consider. I think they should have to permanently alter their eyebrows until those eyebrows grow back in.
As someone who just wants everyone to look good, please don't do that. Please, we're not all Mia Goth here. I know from my own experience when I used to not color in my eyebrows. It was a bad choice. It was not good. It looked like it didn't have a face. So the eyebrows they tie the whole face together. So be careful.
Here's what I'm hearing. That if you didn't do your eyebrows one day, and if you put on some overalls and galoshes, you'd be so ready to absolutely rock that costume.
I was gonna do full Mia Goth, but I went to PacSun to make a return instead of going full Mia Goth for today's episode. So we all make our choices. Maybe I made the wrong one.
Sure.
They gave me store credit too. I'm really pissed off. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's go through the blood and the guts. Let's go through the kills, because wow, this movie is super violent, man. We don't get this level of gore that much anymore. We don't get the innards falling out of what was his name, Steve from Scream, like Steve's stomach. We don't get that kind of gore every day. Get it here, and I'm very, very appreciative of that. Thank you, Ty West.
It is very Scream style gore though, because I think that's one of the last movies that really made me like cover my face the way that this movie did.
I'm still not over Dylan Minnette or whatever the hell his fucking name is. Wes getting his neck skin
in the
sliced.
throat. Ugh.
Oh, that was so sad.
But yeah, I fully had to hide my face at points during the theater, especially, I mean, who doesn't absolutely hate /love/hate when you can see an upturned nail moment coming from far away? You know what I mean? Like, A Quiet Place has done it, Ready or Not has done it, this movie did it, but it still hurts me directly and personally every single time.
My tummy hurts just thinking about it.
It is very effective, which is why it should be used sparingly. That said, I thought it worked here.
Oh yeah,
it worked
really
here.
well. The second that he walked out of the house, because basically what happens, RJ gets murked, and then
RJ cries in the shower like a little bitch. He decides to leave. Then he gets murked. And just a little shine on that moment, the way that it's shot, where the headlights are shining like that yellow light, and then so much blood's out of him that the light turns red. And so she does her little dance in the red blood light that she's just created.
As Don't Fear the Reaper like gently plays in the background.
Another reference to Halloween.
Yes.
Oh, man. Oh my God. But yeah, so then our girl, her name's Lorraine, isn't it? Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, Jenna Ortega.
Lorraine wakes up in the middle of the night, realizes that RJ is gone, is filled with worry for him, thinking that he's broken up with her. He's dead weight, honey.
I don't know about y'all, but for me, if I wake up in the middle of the night and like the person that I was like I went to sleep with, or like a person that I like expected to be in the bed with me just like isn't in the bed, I also go into like a full-blown like panic spiral. I don't know, like, and my cousin
I would be freaked out too. I don't blame her.
But like, even if it wasn't like, even if I didn't decide that I was going to do porn, hours before, what I mean? Like, if it was just like a random, Wednesday or something, and like, I go into like a full blown, like, mental spiral about it. And my cousin was like, yeah, it's like we're being abandoned. And I was like, ooh, who raised us?
Did this trigger something for me?
Yeah, Lorraine has a similar reaction.
Deserved. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be freaked out too, especially because like the front door is wide open. Like there's those weird, creepy old people right next door. Like there's a lot of reasons to be worried. But my big issue is like, Wayne, I get it. You're hot as hell. I love you in this movie, but never is it a time to go searching for someone in your tighty whities with no shoes. Like, what the fuck? I love to wear shoes. I love to wear shoes. And I love to protect my business.
And here's the thing. All these people wandering around in Texas in the summer, the mosquitoes.
There are snakes, I assume.
The mosquitoes.
As someone who got like 15 to 18 bug bites over the weekend, like that man would have died from West Nile, like if he hadn't gotten speared in the face. Like that is not good.
As somebody who lives in the South and deals with the mosquitoes, I know we're like DEET is bad, DEET causes cancer, but I will also douse myself in 100% DEET because I hate mosquitoes. Like if that's how I have to go, that's how I have to go. But like I'm not leaving my house without bug spray and shoes and maybe pants. Maybe.
You are not making a very persuasive come visit me in Alabama argument right now. I'm just gonna
I got DEET. I got DEET. We're fine.
I don't know that I'm prepared for the cancer risk. I'm gonna have to give this some thought.
I mean, also just the last thing about his feet and bugs. If you've ever gotten a bug bite on your foot, that's like one of the worst places to get them. So he's really not thinking this through at all. But yeah, I mean, that sort of visceral House of Wax foot feeling that you feel when you see him step on that nail, and he's immediately like, I'm gonna get tetanus. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
honey, you are. But his death also gives me the same vibes of like mummy vibes, where you're like, don't put your arm in the hole, don't put
Mm.
your eye up to the hole either.
You said that in the theater. I think you like leaned over and you were like, he's gonna get stabbed. And I was like, no. I don't know why I thought no, because it seems very obvious.
The mummy taught me right.
Also,
it really startled me in the theater.
the actor who plays Wayne is doing his absolute best Matthew McConaughey impression.
100%.
Yeah, spot
Like,
fucking on. Oh
100%
my
had
god.
that
He is
same exact thought
giving.
earlier.
It's giving Matthew McConaughey.
Has he been in other stuff doing other things? Is he being himself, but himself is Matthew McConaughey, or
He's Matthew McConaughey's brother.
Martin Henderson?
He's not.
What
he's
else
not,
has
he's
he
not.
been in? He was in The Ring.
Yeah.
He was the dad boyfriend in The Ring.
Yes, of course he is. Wow, that totally makes sense to me. Wow, he's aged very well.
I was
Yes,
wondering
he
why
has.
his name was so
It's
familiar
only been
when
like
I
10
just
years,
looked
but
at
oh
it.
no, it's been like, whoa.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Oh my god.
It's been like 20.
Passage of time.
Oh, the slow march of time.
Oh,
That's
he's
the theme
in
of the
Big
film.
Sky. Oh, that's a different. Is the new Big Sky a remake? That's a question for another time.
But yeah, he was great, and I
It's
felt
completely
sad
unrelated.
to see him go, and I believed him when he there's so many movies where they're like, yeah, I'm gonna make you a star, sweetie. He believed it, he meant it, and he thinks that Mia Goth, the sun shines out of Mia Goth's butt, I think.
I mean, he did leave his wife of 14 years for her.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing. He is 43 and Maxine is presumably, I don't know, 22. And it's a pretty giant age gap, but at no point did I really feel like their power dynamics were super wonky. Like even in the RJ Lorraine relationship, it almost felt like there were worse power dynamics there, because maybe he's not that older. I mean, he is a good amount older. She's like 18 and he's like 23. That's obviously not 20 years, but at that age, it's kind of a big gap.
RJ's more controlling.
Yes, that's the thing. He's trying to be like, no, you can't do this. No, you can do this. This is okay for other people, but not for you. These girls can be in porn because they're not nice girls. You're a nice girl. I'm dating the night. You know what I mean? Like he clearly has a lot of things that he needs to unpack.
Yeah.
And Wayne has his own set of wrongs, and his own, reflecting to do in his life, possibly. But I feel like he very much treats Maxine with like respect and reverence, and is just like, do your thing, girl. Like he's just happy. He's thrilled for her.
That's why I loved that scene so much, even including the too long song where they're all sitting on the couches, like talking about the porn industry just in general, and like ill-conceived notions about what porn actors are like and what they want and what they don't want. And I think that the whole movie is like a great argument to be like, these are just people who like have a sense of freedom that you haven't gotten to yet, like they're chill with one more thing than you are yet, and they're totally fine and they're having a great time, and like why judge them for that? I really enjoyed the way that whole part was written.
I also thought it's interesting because we learn at the end of the movie that the preacher that we're seeing on TV this whole time is Maxine's dad.
Yes.
And that she is like the daughter stolen away by the devil that he mentions in like one of the first sermons that we're seeing on TV. Yeah. And then later he uses like specific kidnapping, murder, and sex fiends that she parrots when she's shouting at Pearl and whatever we said his name was, Howard. I don't know.
Howard.
Thank you. But in those moments on the couch and a lot of the moments where she's talking to Jenna Ortega, it really seems like she kind of hates Jenna Ortega, and is being like, how dare you judge me, blah, blah, blah. And then once you know more, you have more context for her character and the character's history, you realize it's not Jenna Ortega she's talking to. She's like reflecting on this like serious harm that she's experienced in her life and like the very serious judgment that she's experienced. She says, take it from me, letting outdated traditions control how you live your life will get you nowhere. I don't know about you, but I got better places to be than where I came from. And I think it hit me as like a little harsh in the beginning because I was like, well, Jenna Ortega is very new. She's fresh off the scene. She's only here because of her boyfriend. She shouldn't be there if she's judging, but she shouldn't have been brought along. Like that's not 100% on her, that it's taking her a while to warm up to it. But I really liked that even in hindsight, it was not like this cat fight moment. It was just like two people expressing their different histories and different perspectives and like how do those interact and meet each other.
Totally. And I really enjoyed the reveal that like televangelist or whatever is Maxine's father, cuz I didn't really on second watch I liked it so much more too. Not that I didn't like it at first. I just like I looked for clues along the way. She doesn't give away anything. Like that televangelist, her father is playing everywhere in this town, on the TV, in the gas station. She sees it happening, but she doesn't make any reaction. She like kind of makes like a disgruntly face, but like nothing extreme. But I thought the way that they did the end, which was it was a little on the nose, you know, because she's like literally quoting the same things as him in unison or whatever. But like I still liked it. I love the theatrical nature of it. But what I really loved is at the very end, he's like, "Oh yeah, she's been stolen away by these deviant, like these horrible deviants, these sex fiends." But like they're gonna hurt his beautiful daughter. That's like what the whole thing. But the people who hurt his beautiful daughter are the people who subscribe to his bullshit and watch his fucking TV show. So the people, his like religious zealots that follow him are the ones who are hurting Maxine, and the sex fiends and the deviants are the ones that have been protecting her this whole time, and they who care for her.
Fucking
and I was like,
hypocrites.
yeah. I was like,
there's a lot of moments from his sermons that like are very, very obviously directly relevant. They're included for a reason. But really speak to exactly what's happening. And that's some more of the foreshadowing stuff, because he says, we see part of the sermon, and it's after some of the murders have started, because it's like Lorraine is in the basement at this point. She's gotten her hand smashed. Bobby Lynn hasn't died yet. But the quote is, kidnappers, murderers, sex fiends lurking where we least expect, in good Christian homes right under our very noses. And that is 100% this house, where they're watching the Christian sermon, where they have kidnapped that man who was there earlier, where we know that they are doing lots of murders, where we know that there's like this implication that they're sex fiends, not just because Pearl is creeping around touching Maxine's boobies, but also because the guy in the basement has his pants down, and there's some implication that he was being used for sex, possibly. And I think there's some implication that they were gonna do the same to Jenna Ortega, so Pearl bisexual queen. But they say something about it.
Another queer villain.
Another queer icon.
We do find out that Pearl doesn't like blondes. So
exactly. That was the line. You're right. That was the line where I was like,
canon.
when she said she doesn't like blondes, that is an implicit, they've selected who they like and who they don't like. Bobby Lynn can get eaten by an alligator. Jenna Ortega, a little snack for later. But yeah, I mean, they're doing kidnapping, they're doing murdering, they're doing sex fiend shit, and they are lurking where they're least expected. They're like these two old people that kind of present themselves to a degree as like, I mean, you know, to a degree, because Howard shows up first thing with a shotgun threatening to shoot Wayne. But then is like, my wife sometimes gets confused. Like, I'm looking for my wife. Do you know where she is? Can you help me? The wife is like, come in, have some lemonade. Like there's clearly something like off about them, but you don't go in from the beginning being like, oh, clearly they're the bad guys.
Totally. Well, oh, man, I love this movie. Let's go through the rest of the kills though, because they all deserve their due. Who is next? Bobby Lynn?
No. Because one thing that I love about this movie, all the men die first.
You're right. You're
So
right.
RJ,
You're right. You're
then
right.
Wayne,
You got RJ,
then
Wayne,
Jackson.
then Jackson, and
Jackson with his
then-
hanging dong scene.
Oh, Jackson with his
we
hanging
need to
dong
do dick
scene.
discourse, because first of all, I was delighted. I loved it. Second of all, it was wobbling around down there.
He was wiggly woggling a lot.
Yeah, it was.
Listen, he was built
bouncing along.
Kid Cudi,
for
is that your
this line
dick?
of work. Kid Cudi, is that your appendages? Please let us know.
Kid Cudi.
Kid
is
Cudi,
it? Was
did you
it?
use a body double? Kid Cudi, did you use a prosthetic? Kid
Kid
Cudi,
Cudi-
did they just light you from behind and they said, go to town, baby? And he gave it a little shake? Like, what?
Kid Cudi, we are not
Cudi.
objectifying you. We are just
We're
curious.
just curious.
Kid Cudi, from a cinematic perspective, we want to know how the scene came together.
Kid Cudi, as film critics, we have some questions.
As
Oh, Kid
professionals.
Cudi.
Quick Google.
Kid Cudi.
X
He's
Kid
acted in
Cudi
other stuff.
dick?
He
Question
has.
mark?
But like I forgot.
This was his movie debut, though,
What was he?
per
was
IMDb
he
trivia.
in-
Sometimes IMDb trivia says that and it's not true. So I don't know.
Wait.
I
Okay,
think-
hold on.
He recently
He's probably been in TV stuff.
He has. Wait, I'm fact checking something right now because I'm trying to
Okay.
remember. I know I've seen him in something, but I'm trying to remember which thing. Keep talking about other things.
I Googled X Kid Cudi dick ? But I'm not finding some immediate answers just yet. But I
Knew it.
choose to believe. Oh, tell me.
He's in Westworld.
Oh,
Yeah,
season
he's
3.
in Westworld season 3.
Nice,
He's Francis.
great name.
He's
Maybe
his
at
character.
one point I'll get back into
Yeah,
Westworld.
he's not in it a ton, but what he was in, I deeply enjoyed, and I was like, no way, Kid Cudi. Now he can do anything.
I love
He
Kid
was in a
Cudi.
creep show thing. Oh my god,
He looked
Kid
great at the Met
Cudi.
Gala.
Wow.
One of the few men to really give it his best at the Met Gala.
An incredible performance. 10 out of 10. He didn't deserve his death. He deserved a cooler death. And he was being so nice. Like,
Yeah.
His
he's
death
like-
made me so sad.
me too. Like, he's like literally just going out there trying to help Howard, trying to find Pearl to make sure she didn't drown. He throws himself into the lake because Howard plants his fucking flashlight in the lake to
Even
make
though
him
they've
think.
mentioned Crocs at that point, and
Yeah.
Howard had the gun and specifically said it's for Crocs. Like, he knows there is a risk of being eaten, and he goes in after him anyway, like a
Yeah.
sweetie pie. Even after he saw that car, very Psycho style, half submerged in the water, and was clearly like, okay, something's funky going on here. He still circled back and was like, oh no, the old guy died. Let me help. Like, splashing around looking for a body.
He is a wonderful man with a huge schlong, and he didn't deserve to just be shot point blank range in the heart. In his big, beautiful heart.
Here's the thing, big dick, bigger heart, okay? Like
Oh my
I've always said that.
God. It's
know
so
that about
true.
Kid
The
Cudi,
age-old
okay?
adage is true to life. Oh my god. And then also, like, Bobby Lynn didn't deserve what she got either, because she's also trying to be nice. She's also trying to be a sweetie Petey and help out Miss Pearl from being, drowned in the middle of the night.
Yes. And like, she's really being nice, because not only is she trying to help Pearl from being drowned in the middle of the night, but this is directly after she woke up because Maxine was screaming because Pearl was naked in Maxine's bed, touching
Yeah.
Maxine's body. And
Ugh.
so she knows Pearl has just been very creepy, and she's giving her the benefit of the doubt that, like, oh, she must have gotten confused. Oh, she must have wandered out. Let me help her. But like, very much every reason to believe that this is not a good idea, and she's trying to be nice anyway. She has like every reason to be weird or to not help. And unfortunately, it just doesn't go well for her. But what I loved about her death is that we had that moment with Mia Goth swimming earlier.
Yes.
And I think we've been switching between saying alligator and crocodile. And I think they say croc in the movie, but alligator feels
It's
right
alligator.
next to it right now.
Crocodiles
Okay,
like
good.
aren't, they're like a thing, but like most what you're gonna find here is alligators.
In North America.
Yeah.
Got
Okay.
it.
Like in Florida, you might find like a crocodile, but most of the time, like
Uh-huh.
crocodiles have skinny noses.
Oh.
And
so the big meaty boys are alligators.
yeah.
Okay. I've
always wondered.
zoology.
I love zoology.
I love zoology.
Something I love about you and me is that we share a love of zoology.
We both are so passionate about zoology. But that scene with her swimming earlier is so well done because you have that like very slow pan to reveal the alligator's snout like just above the surface of the water, and it has like this lazy swim towards her as she like lazily swims back to the pier, and you have that moment where she's like resting on the pier for a second before she pulls herself out, and you're like and you're starting to get really nervous, and then she like pulls herself up and we don't see the alligator disappear. We just see like she's okay and she moves on. Mm-hmm. And so you're like obviously waiting for the alligator to come back. There are so many opportunities for when it's going to come back. And then for it to be that moment and for it to just chomp on her head immediately once she's in the water.
The immediacy of that, like it was funny, like it was comedic and it was scary. Like it's just like the pacing of this movie is brilliant. Like you feel like it's just like you've been holding your breath since that moment when Mia Goth was lounging in the water, and now you can release that breath because it's too late for Bobby Lynn.
And that Pearl is just standing there on the deck watching, being like, "Bitch!" Like it's iconic.
This movie's so funny.
It's iconic.
So funny. Yeah, and like Ty West in all these articles, he's like, I was just trying to give people like a fun night at the movies. And
he succeeded.
God, he succeeded. God, it was so much fun. Okay, well, let's check back in on Lorraine. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Lorraine has been trapped in a sex dungeon. And I think I'm skipping around a little bit here, but I just want to talk about how much it upset me when Lorraine's hand got mashed. That might have been like the worst part for me to see, worse than the foot. It was
worse than the eyes.
The eyes didn't get
when Lorraine
so
goes
fast.
to pull. When she goes to pull the chain for the light, when Lorraine is in the cellar, and as she goes to pull, it cuts to Pearl yanking the thing out of Wayne's skull. That is a great cut. That's a great
cut. Damn, this is like so perfectly executed, honest.
There are a lot of cuts that are like, I think a little too much or like not great transition moments, or just a little too jarring, a little too avant-garde. But there are so many that are really, really wonderful. And there's so many in between Lorraine and Jackson, where it's like he is frantically splashing around in the water looking, and then it cuts to her frantically banging on the door. Like there's so many like she's going up the stairs as he's like running at some point. They do really good like cutting back in between all the different characters in a way that like sustains the tension they're building and the mood that they've set, even as they're like hopping between storylines. I think that part is really well handled.
Totally. I really agree. I guess the next thing to discuss is maybe the most horrifying part of the entire movie. But not horrifying at the same. Okay, I want to talk about this. Like they paint this as the most horrifying part of the movie, which is when Mia Goth is stuck under the bed and
the old people fucking.
Pearl and Howard finally fuck. But like, why do we feel so grossed out by old people fucking? Do we not want to fuck when we are old people?
Here's the thing.
I want to.
I want to fuck when I'm old. I hope all the old people. And here's the thing. We all know that according to research, old people, STDs run rampant among the elder generation. And you know what? Good for them. Good for them.
Good for them. This is reminding me of that one, what are they called? Andy Samberg's band.
Oh, the
Lonely
Lonely
Island?
Island.
The one Lonely Island song called Boombox featuring Julian Casablancas. And there's a part where they turn on the boombox in an old folks home and all the old people just start fucking like in a huge orgy. Like that's the song. Anyway, back to
Good
the
for
movie X.
But yeah, I think that was one thing that I struggled with and was not sure how I felt about after I saw this movie for the first time. Because I tried to do a little self-reflection. I couldn't tell if they were making the old people look gross on purpose, or maybe I am not around people that old very often and old people look like that and I need to re-examine why I think that's gross and like blah 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 blah. But then she's in old age makeup, so they made her look like that.
But also too, like elderly people of the 1970s and like elderly people of
Today,
today
yeah.
are
Yeah,
like
it's
vastly
different.
different because like remember like
And they're rural too. They're like out on the farm.
the rural Howard has fought in 2 world wars, know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they
They-
didn't
they're
have
obviously
Botox. They don't have, know what I mean? The stuff like they didn't know about SPF, so their skin is all like wrinkled.
They
and
were
stuff like that.
they're
slapping
really
Crisco on
old,
them. Yeah.
and their house isn't in very good shape. Like there's like flies and all this like rotting food in the kitchen, so they're like, you know,
Yeah.
they're not doing super hot right now. They're not like, they could probably use some help in the state of aging that they're in. Obviously they've gotten to a point where they're killing people, so there could have been some intervention a little earlier. But like, you know, yeah, exactly, it's 1979. And you know, people age differently. Some people age like a fine wine, but aging is a bitch. That is the theme of this entire movie.
Yeah.
It takes a lot away from you.
It's interesting to me in this movie because it is a character design. You know what I mean? They like put together what this character would look like. They didn't cast a real old person. And Mia Goth, in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, she said that they had a month of prep before they started shooting, and they were exploring different options and ways to push it really far, she says. And she says, it wasn't really as interesting to me looking so much like a stereotypical horror monster villain. Then we scaled it back, and when she became a little more human, that clicked more for me.
Yeah,
So she said
I think
like
it's a
they
great
really
choice.
went grosser or scarier or whatever that means at first, and then they dialed it back, and this was where they landed on that was like more human. And it's still hard for me. I don't know if I think that she looks kind of gross unfairly, and that's just something that I have to reflect on, or if the movie was making her gross in some ways because it's a scary
Well,
movie.
it's still
and
horror.
it's meant
Yeah,
to make you
it's a
feel
horror
uncomfortable.
movie. It's
Mhm.
supposed to push that. They look like they're starting to literally deteriorate. Like they're
Especially with the
at
scene where
that
she's
point
brushing
of-
her hair.
yeah, her hair is falling out. He's got like, you know, they look a little corpse like, because they're that far along in the aging process. That doesn't happen to everyone, you know what I mean? But like, it is a horror movie, you know, like
They're just not very far off from being corpses. Yeah.
well, I mean, like I said, they're not
Yeah.
like going
No,
to the
you're not
doctor
wrong.
every day, you know.
Mhm.
They're not. They're just hanging out, killing folk. You know, that's what they're doing.
It's not that they look like corpses, it's that a lot of corpses look like old people.
Yes,
Well,
true.
yeah.
They're also really gaunt. I think that's a part of it too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
I
that
mean,
scene, the dialogue is actually very like sweet and romantic.
totally.
And
I
please.
No, I agree. I agree. That's why I think this movie is so effective, because it's like what I was saying earlier, you feel for the villains. Like you see the humanity in them because they're humans. They have all the classic human things. They're jealous, they're lustful. You know, they had hopes and dreams. Like she had all these hopes and dreams to be a dancer, all of that. And so obviously like these extreme reactions are not it. But I don't know, like when they were having sex, I was like, yeah, Get it, girl. Like, go
Mhm.
for it, baby.
You're happy for them. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's been what she's been after this whole time. They've found all of these ways to try and substitute by like bringing in young things. I mean, I think that's what they're doing in the beginning when they like rent out their guest house or whatever you want to call it to Wayne, and then he shows up with the posse and they're like, we thought you were one youngish man coming alone who we could possibly disappear
good
with
point.
nobody noticing. And they're still hoping they can disappear everybody with nobody noticing. But like they're clearly, that's like their fishing expedition, is they just like rent out this barn or whatever. And then when people come, if there's someone who's alone and vulnerable, they just exploit that. So they're trying to find these substitutes. They have the other people they bring in. She has the murders she's doing, RJ's in particular, especially after she's trying to seduce him first. But there just is no substitute for the real thing, baby. And
With
you
her
gotta
mans.
get,
She
yes,
loves her
like,
mans.
you can't make love to your partner by fucking somebody else, or maybe you can, but I imagine it would be tricky to do. A lot of logistics to work out ahead of time. And it's just not the same. She just wants to be with her husband that she loves, who she had to send off to war twice. And I think that whole dialogue, I wrote part of it down because I just thought it was really great. But she just like, they're being so vulnerable with each other. She says, tell me I'm special. And he says, of course you are. I felt that way since the first moment we met. You were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. And she says, oh, not anymore. And he says, always. And she says, tell me I'm yours, that you still want me. Make me feel young again. And he says, what if my heart can't take it? And she just says, it can. And it's just like this very touching moment.
Really
It's not that
sweet.
she's,
It is.
yes, like we joked earlier that she was like, die for this pussy, but it's not even that. It's that she just has like this faith that they can be in this moment together. It's not going to kill him, and it doesn't, spoiler. But that they can have this like closeness that they've been avoiding, that they haven't been letting themselves have, because to have it might risk that you don't get to be close anymore at all ever again in other ways. And what's the risk you're willing to put on that? But
No, totally. I mean,
but then
yeah,
also
and
he was on top. I was like, why, if he's so worried about his heart, why can't he just be on bottom and she can relive the Maxine scene? Like, think about it, girl. Give it some consideration.
Howard wanted to show off his butt. Let him do it, you know? Let him do it. But okay, that brings us to the next and almost final scene, which is when Mia Goth, Maxine, runs all the way to the house to liberate Lorraine. She saves her, and then Lorraine has like reverted back to her old ways times 2,000 and is like, you bitch, this is your fault. How is this her fault? This is not her fault. She did nothing wrong except for be a beautiful ingenue. Like, leave her alone. And then she's a dumb idiot and she's just screaming at the top of her lungs and runs out the door and gets shot and immediately dies and her face comes off.
Yeah. Well, she
liked that
doesn't
part.
immediately die, which is what's fun about it,
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a very understandable emotional reaction to have. I think I get why she's mad at Maxine, because it kind of feels like this whole project is to launch Maxine, specifically star power, even though Wayne also wants it for himself, even though Bobby Lynn wants it for herself, RJ and Jackson, they want it for themselves. It's kind of Maxine's show, especially after that scene where they all gazed upon her as she did her business. But yeah, it doesn't go well for
It's not her
Lorraine.
fault. She's
And
just,
it really
like,
doesn't
this
go
is the
well when
time
they-
where you bond together to survive. Like, come
Right.
on, babe. Come on. You only have one hand right now. Like, you're going to make another enemy when you have one hand right now? Come on.
Mhm.
Anyway, sad to see her go, though. She's adorable. Also,
Yeah.
just want to say, best scream in the game. Like, it's
Yes!
earlier in the movie, but
Ugh,
like,
it's so good.
she is so good at screaming. Like, she is literally amazing at it. She screamed great in Scream. She's screaming great in X. 10 out of 10.
Truly Scream Queen material.
Yeah.
Truly Scream Queen material.
Textbook.
But another moment just before we move on of that scene being so good and the script being so good is that, like, in that moment, as Maxine is hearing Pearl and Howard deal with Lorraine's body and bring it inside, she also hears them mention that they have to go get Wayne's body from the farm. And I think that moment was pivotal because that's like the only other character she would have potentially gone back for, I think. And hearing that he was dead, she was free to just be like, okay, fuck you, I'm leaving. And good for her, and she should. But I liked when they're carrying it in and Lorraine gives her like death rattle gasp gurgle, and that's what gets Howard, because something had to eventually, and I think that was the perfect choice of what it was.
Oh,
If he had died
so
during sex,
funny.
the movie would have been terrible to me.
No, that would have been so sad.
Dying in this moment, perfect, flawless, no notes.
So funny. But
the funniest death in this movie is Pearl's death.
True.
It is. I mean, when I cackled laughing, it was so comical because as somebody who has shot a 12 gauge and it dislocated their shoulder, I understand this. I was a child,
material,
but still, like, I was like, this is accurate. This could happen in real life. Like, this is an old lady. She wasn't ready for that kickback.
I think it's pretty funny and interesting choice that like both of the things that get these, like, I know they're like fragile beings because they're older, they're very old. We just discussed how they look, older than the average old person. But they fucking massacre 6 young strapping gents and ladies like with no problem at all. I didn't say the right amount of people. I don't care. I'm not going to count right now. I'm not going to fucking count. But then like just little flukes is what gets them in the end. Like a cough and like the kickback of a gun. Like I thought that was an interesting choice. But I also thought little symbolism for you. When she shoots the gun, Pearl does, it shatters the mirror. And that's the mirror that they had looked into together earlier in the film. And so there's something there. Can't really put it into words.
You killed it.
Vanity.
The implication alone did a lot of
don't
heavy
last.
lifting.
I don't know.
Shattered their connection that we saw manifested physically on screen in that mirror moment where they're gazing upon each other, touching boobies, etc. But yeah, I think what I like about Pearl's death most is that it's coming while the sermon keeps being like, if we do not take control of our fate, the Lord will do it for us. So it's basically saying like, you can control your own destiny, but if you don't, someone else is gonna, and it might not go the way that you like. And I think if Pearl had just died from the kickback and like smashed her head open or something like that, that would have felt shitty and cheap, because if it comes right after, if we do not control our fate, the Lord will do it for us. That was not Maxine controlling anything. You know what I mean? Like that was the divine intervention that we get a moment later, but that Maxine gets to be like, okay, fuck you, I'm literally gonna crush your skull into pieces by running you over and then going forward again. That's her controlling her own fate. That's her writing her narrative.
Totally. What does she say? I will not accept a life that's less than I deserve, or something like that.
Okay, but also like, why would Pearl even ask Maxine to help her? Like, baby, you just murdered all of my friends. Why do you think I'm gonna help you in this situation? Like,
her last chance. She's got a crush on her. She's like, maybe she still likes me.
And then she antagonizes her again when it's like, okay, asking for help politely is not working. She does the whole, it'll all be taken from you just like it was from me. And that's when Maxine is like, okay, maybe 1 second ago I would have left you here to die alone on your own, but now I'm gonna finish the job immediately. And good for her. And then I liked how it like cut between her driving away and the sermon.
And her doing cocaine again.
Oh, important. Yeah. My question is, where's she driving, do we think?
The fuck away from there.
Do we think she's driving straight to Hollywood to start her movie star career? Do we think she's driving to her dad's house to do some more murders? Do we think that she has a specific destination in mind? I just like, I'm curious for her.
She's just going wherever the vibes feel right, you know?
She should have taken the camera with her.
Or she's going wherever her Coke dealer is.
She said, I do need more Coke after this whole experience.
Yeah.
She should not have taken the camera with her because that's the type of fool shit that gets you killed. Like, oh, let me go back for my cell phone. We just watched Fresh. That almost ended Daisy Edgar Jones, okay? Like, just leave your earthly possessions behind and get your ass out of there. Even if you think people are dead, it's time to go. So final girl behavior.
The 70s is very much still an era where you could like disappear and start a new life. You know what I mean? Before everything was like digitized in that way. And so it could be that film, after falling into police hands, somehow hits, I don't know, what was the analog dark web, black market or whatever?
What?
Black market before it was online. Do you know what I mean? Anyway,
You mean they would play the commercials and you would be like, you must be 18 years or older to call.
They have it playing at 3 a.m. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a good chance that movie still gets shared and becomes a cult classic of the murders that happened on this farm and the point that they were making. And I would love to see Maxine living her new life navigating
that. The porn did seem like a good porn. I will give them great. That. Like,
I would
10 out of 10.
This whole setup
would have masturbated to it. Would have done it. Would have had a great time.
What I about? But I support your journey. What I about is that mentioning the porn footage reminded me that the opening shot of this scene or this whole movie is so good because it starts like behind the barn doors and it seems like a very 70s like aspect ratio for the film, because in the 70s they had just about like switched to 70 millimeter blah 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 IMAX, etc. I looked it up earlier, and the ratio was much more boxy and almost squarish, and to start in that what seems like that aspect ratio that was like of the time of the period for so long before they finally zoom forward and you see that it's the barn doors fading away into a modern day aspect ratio. I thought that was great, especially when interspersed in the film you have like the shots of the porn footage and it's in that square aspect ratio. I just thought that was a cool touch.
So genius. There's all this buzz about two things. One, there's going to be a prequel to this movie, which is going to be amazing. I think it's giving like Snow White a little bit with the vibes. Yeah, okay, I read an article about this too, and he's like trying to go for Disney vibes in part of this movie.
Huh?
Yeah.
Because she's like, does she have animal friends on the farm?
I mean, you see the trailer for Pearl. The prequel is called Pearl. It's about Pearl. And her younger life, played by Mia Goth again. The movie is co-written by Mia Goth and Ty West. They filmed it.
Oh.
Yeah, they wrote it together. Like, I think he started it maybe while they were filming X, and then they worked on it together for a few months. Wrote it in their
2-week quarantine before they started filming, when they were not allowed to start filming yet, after they had gone on site in New Zealand.
Yeah, but then there was like 2 months or something downtime between the two productions, but they stayed in New Zealand. Also, a little fun fact for you, the crew for this movie was the crew from Avatar, because they were filming Avatar, the new James Cameron Avatar, in New Zealand, and they were on break, and so they just stole the Avatar crew, which I think is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Anyway, thank you, James Cameron. But yeah, so I think the prequel is going to be amazing. But then he was also talking about how, like, if you're making a slasher movie, you have to be prepared to make sequels. And I'm just like, do we have to? Well, it's so good on its own.
Yeah, in the LA Times article, he says he has ideas for a third film. And I'm just really curious to see what that would possibly be. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, it makes sense that you're taking the backstory of a character that we see, especially one who it has implied homicidal tendencies possibly for a long time. Certainly implied by that trailer. Or the existence of the movie, I guess, maybe. But I don't think there's like a clear what would be next. And I guess my question is, does Mia Goth taking this role imply that it would be a Mia Goth trilogy? Because I think when they showed the photo of young Pearl and Howard like on their wedding day earlier in the movie, that's not Mia Goth. And so I don't think he was necessarily. It is?
Yeah, it's Mia Goth.
Oh.
I looked at it again this time and I was like, oh, the picture is Mia Goth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting then, because I was thinking maybe he was like okay to recast the role if Mia Goth was not interested or available. But it was just like fun for the implications and for the themes of this movie to have her play both characters within X. But it makes me wonder if maybe a third one could be about like an older Maxine, like Maxine when she's older, and what does her older years look like?
Yeah, I like it
because I would be
better if
interested in
they,
that story.
if they don't do it in a traditional slasher sequel kind of way. And you know, knowing what Ty West has put out before, I don't think that he would, but when he like said that, like, oh, slashers need to have sequels, I was like, I don't want like another like rigmarole with this was so special to me. I like just loved it so much, so I don't want it to be tarnished by a shitty sequel. I think the prequel's gonna rock my socks, but like we'll see about some sequel.
What a throwback little phrase.
But let's get into our segments. How could this movie be gayer? It is innately gay. I mean, Pearl is queer.
She should have a bisexual flag on her wall. It could be gayer in
the
that
bisexual
sense.
flag exist in 79? Probably, but I don't know.
Missing persons milk cartons didn't exist until the 80s. So we've already got some historical inaccuracies here. I think they could throw a little bisexual flag on the wall in the background.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I would have loved, you know, well, maybe that would have been bad. We didn't need a girl on girl porn scene. That's bad. That would have been
bad. I mean, they could have done it well because we see how well they did the other ones, but
we didn't need it. We didn't need it.
We didn't need it.
And I didn't feel like there was really any interest there other than I do feel like Lorraine is fully gay.
Yeah, she was like, I have never thought of these thoughts before, and now they're the only thoughts I'll ever have again. When she takes off her little cross necklace.
Yes, she had stars in her eyes to a degree for Bobby Lynn. She clearly was like fully taken in by Maxine in that one scene. I just think she's a lesbian.
I couldn't agree more. Where would Matthew Lillard fit into this film? Matthew Lillard in age makeup as Howard.
I'm open to that.
I think he would have done a great Wayne, and I would have liked to have respectfully seen him in his tidy whities.
Respectfully.
I think that a young Maddie Lily could have been a fun RJ. I don't think I don't know. Like, this is one of those films where I'm like, I'd be okay. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't need him to be in this one just because I thought this was perfectly cast. He could have been the televangelist.
Oh, if we put him in some prosthetics so he was still unrecognizable, I think that would have been a fun role that he could pull off without being too recognizably Maddie Lily.
We know he's
that would be
the king of the unhinged monologue. So what is a sermon if not another version of such?
I'm on board.
Yeah, I feel like that could have been a good spot for him. Dumb bitch. That leads us to dumb bitch.
RJ, I think. Because I definitely don't want to give it to I don't want to give it to her. I love her and she's my baby, and I would protect her with everything
Babies
that I have
can
in
be
my
dumb
heart.
bitches.
They can be, but
Babies
they
are
don't have to be if we're just
notoriously
choosing
dumb bitches.
one. That's
Chelsea,
true of
you're
babies
blinded by
in
your love
general.
for Jenna
Oh my
Ortega.
God.
You
I
can't
am,
be
maybe.
objective.
Yeah, but RJ sucks. Why can't it just be him? It speaks for itself. I mean, he's crying in the shower after filming a porn that was partially his idea. You know what I mean?
RJ sucks, but forcing someone into a polyamorous situation is not okay either. Even though we want Lorraine to be happy, you know what I
Huh?
mean? That's a lot to ask of someone. It is. It is. I'm
Yes.
sorry. It is.
Yeah.
Listen,
It
as
is.
somebody who recently went through that, where somebody was like, don't you want to be in this relationship with me and this other woman? And I was like, no, not really. No, thank you.
I don't actually.
It is
She's straight.
a dick move of Lorraine to be like, I'm gonna do this. Like, good
Yeah,
for her, but also like, baby.
in the
Okay, I
scope
take it
of
back. He's
their
allowed to cry in the
relationship,
shower. He
in
should
the
not just leave though.
in the scope of their
That's
relationship, he's like, she literally is like, hey, I'm gonna fuck someone else and I'm gonna make you film it. Think about it like that. I know it's just business, but that's a big change. I'm happy for her. I was like, yeah, but I was also like, ooh. The way he verbalizes his feelings, shitty, terrible.
yeah.
If he had said it in any other way, lovely, would have been more understandable. But he goes like full controlling. But either
Mhm.
way, it's fucked up.
Yeah, it's a very reasonable boundary to have. I
My
still
boundary
think
is that you don't make me film you fuck someone else.
well, my boundary, I guess, would be that if we're working on a porn together, we need to have discussions ahead of time about what our boundaries are for our relationship and our relationship to this film. Because like maybe she wasn't going to be okay with him filming a porn. I don't know. That's a conversation they clearly must have had ahead of time. This was not a conversation they had the opportunity to have ahead of time. I take it back. He's allowed to cry in the shower. You can't take the only vehicle they have and leave. That's dumb bitch dick move behavior.
I
Listen,
think they're tied.
they both do it. But here's the thing, I think Lorraine gets it because she also blames Maxine.
Leave her alone.
Baby,
That's
can't
my
be objective.
child.
It's tied for worst couple. RJ and Lorraine. I love them in their own way. The movie wouldn't be the same without them, but they're dumb bitches. And that's why.
Fine.
Chelsea's so sad.
She knows we're right.
It's
How
the
dare
truth
you.
hurts.
How dare you? We're moving on to Knives Out of Fives, and I am setting the scene. This movie on IMDb got 6.7 out of 10. And Rotten Tomatoes, it got 96% fresh from critics. So 96% of critics thought this was at least a fresh movie, which is pretty cool. Audiences were a little less receptive. It got 75% fresh from audiences. So still overall pretty good numbers. But definitely critics saw something in it that audiences in general maybe didn't.
This movie is a 5 out of 5 for me. This was
Ooh.
like the most fun that I've had in the theater in a long time. Like, I might have liked it more than Scream 6 or whatever,
Oh.
however you want to say it. I love a fresh concept for a horror movie. I know this is a slasher, still, but like I love this. I thought they handled the porn aspects of it so well. I love that exploration of sexuality and having it be empowering and like, like flipping the script on deviancy. I'm saying that in scare quotes. Like I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I thought the acting was great. I thought the costuming was impeccable. They made all that shit from scratch. Like, I thought the makeup work was amazing. I'm like blown away that Mia Goth played both characters, and like you don't really like realize that at first. And then when I did realize that, which was at the fucking end,
the credits roll.
When the credits rolled, I was like, holy shit! Like once again, like I loved it. Literally no notes. Like keep the full Brittany Snow song in. Like no notes. Like 100%. I can't wait to watch this again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of close. I'm doing a 4.5 out of 5 only because the movie is so dark. Like I literally had a hard time seeing it, and I have perfect vision. And it truly
Rub it in, why don't you?
it was like it was like kind of annoying in the theaters, but it was like absolutely obnoxious watching it in my house because I was
where
on
you
like
can't get that theater blackout experience.
yeah, I was like in my room, like my TV is smaller. I had a hard time seeing the movie. And so I just wish it was like why couldn't this be shot during like a full moon or something? You know what I mean? Where it was like could be just like a smidge brighter. But
you know that conversation from the Lord of the Rings set where they're like, everybody talks about how I don't know Lord of the Ring things, so correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know Lord of the Ring.
But the Battle of Helm's Deep or whatever, it's like lit really well and you can see it, but you can tell it's supposed to be nighttime. And apparently there was a conversation on the set where somebody was like, where's this lighting coming from? And the lighting designer was like, I don't know, I guess wherever the soundtrack is also coming from. Which is like, yes, to some degree you want to have realistic, quote unquote realistic lighting, but also you want your audience to be able to see what is happening, and that should be the priority over mood setting or realistic dark effects or whatever. Like you need what are you trying to communicate to your audience, and are you doing that effectively, is like a very important, worthwhile question that I think a lot of recent things miss the mark on lighting wise.
But other than that, like Kid Cudi is incredible. Brittany Snow
Gorgeous.
Literally does so many things for me. Like Jenna Ortega, again, potential scream queen. Ring Man, so sexy in his little tidy whities. And good for the old people for still fucking in their old age. Like I hope that can be me one day. Like
it will be us. We'll fuck till we're dead. Till it kills us.
Yeah, I hope that I one day from my old age like die mid fuck.
Manifest it, baby. Manifest it. But yeah, I agree. This movie is really well written. It's really well directed for the most part. There are some cuts that I think kind of take away rather than add, but I really like that they were trying to do so many interesting things with the split screens, with the cuts back and forth, with the transition moments. I think they did a lot of that right. There's very little that I think needs to be tweaked. But there are some things that I would want to adjust. There are some notes that I have. That said, I feel like I've thrown them all out here. I don't have anything else to add really, other than I liked it. I was delighted watching it in the theaters. I thought it was really fun to see with a group of friends. I thought a lot of people were very reactive in the theater, which is a sign of either a really, really good movie or a really, really bad movie, depending on the vibes. And I thought that this was a blast and a good launching point to a sequel. And I would be very interested to see whatever the third movie might be, even if he doesn't get it and he just shares like a concept with us one day. I would read whatever he would share about it. Because I think Ty West clearly has a vision. And so for me, I think it's like, I could go full fives, but I feel like we've been doing a lot of fives lately. I'm going to give it like a 4.9, I think. That's what feels right in my heart today.
Very fair. Well, thank you, Ty West, for giving us this gift. And thank you, A24, for green lighting it once again. Just knocking it out of the fucking park. Can't wait for Bodies. Anyway, we're moving on to something new and something very exciting that we've been cooking up in our spooky mad scientist lab here at Spooky Tuesday. You've heard on the pod before our contentious thoughts and fights about themed months. You may recall in yesteryear and Spooky Tuesday history, Doll Month, April 2021. It was a beautiful time. Well, we love
Don't
themes
forget
here.
Sharky 2 weeks, okay?
Sharky 2 weeks, my God. The most incredibly named series of 2 weeks that have ever existed in the history of podcasting, I'm pretty sure. But now we've decided to find a beautiful compromise between myself and Chelsea. We're doing a theme, but it is not all encapsulated in 1 month. It is all summer long, baby. We are introducing something amazing, something beautiful. It's Final Destination Summer.
Final Destination Summer.
I don't know what that sound was. It was like a dying cat.
It's a cat, yeah. Cat fighting for its life out there.
I was thinking, like, what's the sound that a scythe makes as it goes through the air? And that's the sound I made, which is wrong. That's not the sound that it makes. It's
I
more
feel
like
like it's like a yeah.
exactly. But yeah, death is coming and it's following you and it's never gonna stop until you're dead, baby. It's Final Destination. We're obviously Ooh. a little song. We're obviously starting with the first one. Of course, best place to start. When did it come out?
2000, I believe, perhaps 2001, but I think 2000. But yeah, I'm really excited for Final Destination Summer. If you are looking to have an idea of what to expect, it will be the last Tuesday of each month, unless there's a 5th Tuesday. And we are still holding on to those 5th Tuesdays.
The
So you
4th
might
Tuesday of
notice
every month.
Exactly. There we go. The 4th Tuesday of every month will be part of our Final Destination Summer event. And I'm thrilled.
How many Final Destinations are there? 5, 6?
5, but they're making a 6th, which we'll talk about later because the 5th one I kind of think is the perfect ending to the franchise. But we'll see.
I don't think I've seen the 5th one.
We watched it for a spooky with our OG crew.
I might not have made it to that one. I don't
Honestly,
know.
I'm not sure I've seen the first one. I maybe have just seen 3 and 5. I'm not. I feel like I've seen them on TV, but I'm not sure I've ever seen them all the way through. We're gonna find out when I watch.
You've seen the first one. The first one fucking slaps.
It has Casper in it.
It does have Casper in it, and it has Ali Larder, and it has I don't know other people. I just know that Alex Johnson from Instant Star on the end was in Final Destination 3, and that's why I was like, that was my entry point.
Final Destination 3 is one of the best ones, but we got to start
Mary
at the
Elizabeth
beginning.
Winstead. Yeah. Mary Elizabeth.
Anyway, so there's a lot to look forward to. A whole summer of death. Isn't that exciting? It's going to be amazing. So why not give us a 5-star review as a thank you for coming up with cool and exciting concepts for the show? Isn't that so exciting? What's another giveaway 5-star review that you could do? You could write something like a little poem about Kid Cudi's dick.
An ode,
whole review.
Are we your favorite podcast hosts? Sometimes, yeah.
Perfect. Great. That's a great one, and it's probably true. We know that you're not monogamous with Spooky Tuesday. That's okay. That's fine. We'll not upset about it.
This is the only polyamorous relationship that I am open to, and that is one with all of the listeners.
You can listen to us and other
And
podcasts.
other podcasts.
We'll allow it. We'll allow that.
We'll allow it.
I'm so glad we've set that boundary at this time. Now that we've had the conversation,
we're all on the same page. Yeah.
And why not follow us on social media? We're gonna have a bunch of fun stuff for this movie and also for all of Final Destination Summer. We're at spooky_Tuesday on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, at Spooky Tuesday Pod on Facebook and Tumblr, and at Spooky Tuesday on Letterboxd. And again, we have that incredible singular YouTube video up on YouTube. So watch it. You gotta watch it. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Bye, Spooky.
Bye, Spookies.
Everybody likes sex. It's a gas. But we're just not afraid to admit it. Queer, straight, black, white. It's all disco.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamra. And our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.